Hey everyone, welcome back. In this episode, we got a lot to cover. We took 2 weeks off around the New Year, Christmas time period, and decided to just knock out a lot of projects. I've been waiting to get this BMW running so I can drive it. I want to take the family out. I want to just kind of feel that wagon lifestyle. Fortunately, a lot needs to be done to that thing before we get to that point. So in the last episode, you saw we got it driving, but just barely. Took it on one trip for Christmas lights, and other than that, it really hasn't worked out yet. But we're gonna work on it. So we gotta put in a new throttle body. We gotta fix some taillight wiring. We gotta take the tint off. We gotta put coilovers on. We gotta do radio. We gotta put plastics underneath the car from the parts car. A lot of things to do on the BMW, a lot discovered, and a lot to figure out on that guy. And then we also worked on our Mini Cooper. So my son decided that he wanted to learn how to work on the Mini Cooper. He would like it for his first vehicle, even though I don't really recommend it. We still dove into it. We did an oil change. We did a motor mount, and then we just kind of did some regular maintenance on that guy. What else did we do? So we also worked on the Nova. It's been kind of just sitting and waiting in the wings. It's wintertime around here officially, and it's definitely not ready to go out on the road. I mean, it really has to be dry, and even then it should be on drag radials. But I still wanted to fix it. So the secondary clutch cylinder went out. It was leaking like crazy. You may have seen that in one of the last videos. And I just decided I had an extra day. So we pulled the transmission out, found a couple things that are kind of interesting, but eventually got to the point where it's fixed. The other items that we did, I also pulled out a couple 6-liters from the local wrecking yard. I needed to fund some of the projects that we got going on. So I was able to go and get a pretty good deal on those, put them on, marketplace, get them sold. And now we got a little extra money to move on with the next things that we need to do, like with the BMW, for example. So follow along. There's a lot to cover. I'm going to try and keep it short. I really don't like these hour-long videos. At the same time, there is a lot of things that I leave in the videos because I edit all my own stuff. I leave them in the video because it's just information that you would need to understand the story that I'm trying to tell. So buckle up, maybe get a coffee, maybe a soda, whatever you're into, maybe some popcorn, and then we'll see if we can make this story as short as possible. So thanks for watching. All right, so we're back again working on this thing. So what I have done, I went and I purchased one of these input cables. If you're not familiar, there's a BMW software called INPA. You can plug into the car and see what's going on. So it's basically telling me that the special throttle body that 99 and 2000 cars had, which mine's a 99, is bad. I want to make sure the connector is not broken. I know that when I did all of the PCV stuff, that when I tried to take the connector off, it didn't want to come off, so I left it. I don't know if maybe I didn't get it all the way back on. I don't know if it broke. I don't know what. So I'm gonna jump in there and just see if I can figure out what to do. But right now the car idles perfectly, and it threw up a bunch of codes, and when I give it gas, like the engine itself sounds fine. Put in the new mass airflow before when I was testing, all the lights turned off and the car ran beautifully for a little while. So maybe that's what's going on. So let's take the throttle body off, see what that does. All right, and we have the throttle body out and apart. So basically the wheel inside here, there's a potentiometer on this side that reads how far it's moving. So I'm gonna clean that one. And then there's one on this side apparently, which maybe I can access through there. I'm not really sure, but I need to clean that one as well. So I'll clean this side with some contact spray, and then we'll do the other side, and we will check the wiring between this connector and the DME, which is the ECU for this thing, and make sure that there's no brakes there. And if there's no brakes, put it all back on, hope for the best. All right, and here we are. So we got this end apart. This little security nut here was a bit of a bear, but internet showed me how to do it. Got this end clean, got those contacts clean inside and out. Got the potentiometer on this end cleaned as best I could, sprayed it out, cleaned the actual throttle body itself, even though it doesn't look like I did. It is cleaner than it was. So let's go put it back on after we test the wiring. All right, so the next thing we were gonna do is check the wiring as we have here. So we have checked each one of these wires. We've run it back over to the DME, which per the internet, this is a little bit different, but this is the connector that everything plugged into, that plugged into the computer. All of these are under or a little bit over 1 ohm, and that's probably, a 5-foot span there. So that's really good. So we're just gonna put everything back together and cross our fingers because there's really nothing else we can do. All right, we got her all back together. Everything's plugged in, did a double check, cleaned up the tools. Let's see what happens. Cold out. Let's give this a few. I'm gonna clear some codes and see what happens. Right, so last I left you yesterday, we were trying to fix the throttle body issue. I did not get any resolution to that. I have the lead on a replacement that supposedly is working, so I'm waiting on contact about that. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to pull off the things I need from this car, which include, but are not limited to, the brakes, the inner fender liners, the under tray covers that cover all the brake lines and fuel lines and stuff, and the back brakes. And actually, I also need a tie rod as well from that side if they're different. So that's what I'm going to do now. And then when I hear back about throttle body, I may be going getting it. And here we are. So we have a new to us throttle body. We are going to just bloop, bloop, bloop. That took all of about 15 minutes. So we got the new throttle body in. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to clear the learn. I'm going to clear the codes. I'm going to set the TPS, and then we're going to start it. Oh, that's promising. Okay, we're gonna let it sit for a second and just do its thing. So we'll come back with you once it's up to temperature. All right, good news. With the exception of the airbag light, we're good. Car seems to rev up, seems to do all the things it's needing to do. So I'm gonna let the windshield defrost, and then we're gonna take it out for a little test drive. A little status check, we got it out on the road. Everything seems great. I mean, obviously the steering wheel's still crooked and the front tie rod is still pretty loose, but there's no check engine lights. I did get I believe that's an ABS light, but it's probably on because the brake pad sensor in the back is unhooked. It was broken when I got to it. Just haven't fixed it yet. So far we are good. That was not full throttle. I'm just still kind of feeling it out. I don't even know if everything works. So, you know, better safe than sorry. But so far, doing great. Very pleased. All right, and as you saw, we just got the first fill up. An unfortunate thing that I'm realizing now that when you're driving straight, if you're sitting from the driver's seat, you can't see the temperature gauge. And while the car is not overheating currently, in the picture that you just saw, it certainly is spewing out some coolant. Not exactly sure where or why, but I did get on it a few times, and that would certainly cause something like that to happen. So I'm just gonna kind of get it home, take a look at all the coolant stuff. It looked like a leak from the upper radiator hose, but I felt around it and I didn't feel any cracks or splits or anything. So we will see. But at this point, I'm just happy to put some gas in this thing and just, you know, kind of bob around. All right, so I have figured out where the leak is coming from in the radiator. Kind of a weird one. Never really seen this before, but you know, these plastic radiators. So it's actually broken right there. So we're gonna go ahead and shut her off before that just goes nuts. You know, I guess at least we found it now before we started driving the car every day. It looks like the actual, yeah, it's like someone pushed too hard on the snout here, the plastic end tank, and it just broke off. So good news, I have another radiator. Bad news, I've had this radiator out 4 times now. This sucks. Well, at least we got some of it fixed. Feeling good about that. Here's a familiar sight. We are back in the shop. So after the test drive and a few wide open throttle runs, we found that the end tank was broken. Once I get this out, I'll probably show you a better view. So next step, we're gonna take the radiator out and just see what it looks like. The one that I have is from the parts car. It was brand new, it looks like, but it did see some damage in the back seat. So I'm not even positive that this thing is leak-free. Matter of fact, there's a core that looks pretty well dented right there. So maybe, it's a maybe. Let's just take this one out and go from there. All right, we got the radiator out. The outlet is definitely, the upper outlet is definitely broken around the snout. So here's the replacement. So we will just go ahead and just cross our fingers that it goes in. All right, we just got the fuel filter changed, much to my surprise, not really. This thing is from 99. Can you even see that? Anyways, trust me, it says 99 right there. So I could just barely get any flow through this thing, and it actually had a lot of back pressure on it. So, you know, it's almost like, what is that, 23, 25 years is a little too long for a single fuel filter. So we got a new one in there. We're gonna change the tie rod end, and then we're gonna fire this thing up. I don't see any leaks in the cooling system. I don't see any leaks in the fuel system. So it's just the tie rod, and I mean, unless something else breaks, it should be good to drive. So let's see. And we got the tie rod out. So you tell me, is this thing worn out? I'm guessing that's original as well. The outside tie rod actually looks pretty good. No huge wear. So, I mean, if I have to, I can replace it. But we have the entire piece here out of the other one, so we're just gonna use that. All right, it's early morning. Took my son to school. That was a successful trip. And now we're just out driving. So no issues, doesn't seem to be overheating. When I get home, I'm gonna check, make sure there's no coolant leaks. But as of right now, it's been idling for 10 minutes and then took a drive. Doesn't seem to be having any issues. The transmission's making some weird noises. Nothing too crazy, but it just seems like it maybe is over full or under full. So I gotta figure out the way to actually check the fluid level. But other than that, I mean, it's still shifting and driving just fine, just making a weird noise. So, all right, we're gonna take her home and wait till the next trip. Definitely gotta do something about the steering though. It's that's straight right there. So, and I didn't change anything as far as that goes. So the whole time this car has been driving this way since the last person owned it. So some people just don't care about certain things. All right, here we are. It's 9 in the morning. It's raining like crazy. And we're gonna pull a 6-liter. We're gonna try to. Brought my umbrella, brought a bunch of tools. Let's see how this goes.
A few moments later. Much later. Much later.
Well, hello. Here we are. We got it home. So this is a 2003 6.0, an LQ4. There was an LQ9 there in much worse shape. Someone had actually pulled the transmission out and the torque converter. So it's just a LQ9 just sitting there doing nothing. So I'm definitely going to go back tomorrow if I can and pull that one. But this LQ4, great shape inside and out. But I do want to say, it absolutely poured all day from the time I arrived at the junkyard till the time I got the engine out. It rained all day. My inside clothes are wet, my outside clothes are wet, my rain jacket was soaked. Just, it's been a long day. So I'm gonna get this thing out and I'm gonna get it on the ground, and I think tomorrow I'm probably gonna go get the other one, because as of 2:30, they close at 4:30, no one was even looking at that engine. It would be nice to have both, because both are really good for resale. I have no use for a 6.0. I mean, could I use it? Yeah, of course. But I have 6.2, all aluminum, 2 or 3 aluminum 5.3s, and then 1 in Nova. And then this one, and a Coyote, but that's whatever. So anyways, I don't have any use for a 6.0 iron block. Sorry, I'm just losing it. Anyways, let me get this thing out of here. I need a nap or something. And here she is out of the vehicle. So I pulled the plugs. These are all AC Delco NGKs, which is cool, but they all look real nice. Here is the driver's side. Scooch. Yeah, man, those look great. So, you know, the outside is filthy, but all the valves and stuff look just fine, even though these are the undesirable 317 heads. I think we're gonna clean her up and we'll see what happens. All right, feels like Groundhog Day. I feel like I was just here. Oh, that's right, I was yesterday pulling that one. So this is another 6.0. There's another one right there. It looks like it's in a little bit better shape, but this one's super easy to get out. So I'm gonna take the valve covers off and just see how it looks. I checked the oil previously and it looked okay, but it did look like it hadn't been changed very frequently. So like I said, I'm gonna pull it open and see if it's viable. If not, we'll take that one out. All right, preliminary checks. This thing looks pretty damn good, as a matter of fact. It looks terrible on the outside. Let me get this other valve cover off here. The dirty side is dirty, but you know, even in the corners, there's not a lot of buildup. So somebody loved it. All right, let's pull it out. Yeah, I guess those AC systems aren't totally evacuated, huh? Nice. Sprayed me right in the face. just a little update right before Christmas. So I did a little work on the car today, trying to get the air conditioning to work because we had planned on going out and looking at Christmas lights. Couldn't get it to work. Come to find out, it looks like the auxiliary fan is not working. However, after putting everything back together during my testing, I flipped the AC on and it started working. So, you know, for the most part, everything is working. But we have air conditioning, we have heated seats, we got the dog in the back. What's up, Bill? You know, it's a pretty good family car. So as of right now, all is well. Hello and welcome back. It's a couple days after Christmas. We have some time, so we're gonna do some stuff to the BMW. Got a small list. One is the altitude adjustment that we've been talking about. So I'm gonna put the coilovers on. I got the springs, I got the new coilover adjusters, so we should be good to just throw all that in. I am gonna try and fix the taillight wiring. So I have the center taillights that are actually in the trunk that opens that are not working. My backup lights are not working either. Quite certain that it's something to do with the wiring harness being broken because, you know, they always break on these BMWs at the hinge. So I'll see if I can figure out how to make that work for now, but I am gonna be pretty sure that even if I fix it, it's gonna break again. The other things that we're gonna fix, I need to put the plastics underneath the car. Since I was still working on everything, I didn't throw them back in, but I got the new ones off the parts car, so I cleaned them all up. Now they're ready to put in. I need to clean these wheels. These things have been sitting for a long time. I'm not sure how clean I can get them, but since it's gonna be lowered, I would like it to look a little bit better. So we're gonna do that. What else? Actually, that's about it. So let's get started. I drove this thing the other day, drove great. The only thing that I'm concerned about with putting the plastics back on is that we did drive it, so inside of there is gonna be filthy. I may try and clean it depending how bad it is. I may wait until I'm done with everything else, take it out, spray it out, pull it back in, and then put them in. We'll see how it goes. Right, so come to find out, you can get these springs out without a spring compressor. It's not easy. Had to take a whole lot of stuff off. And I don't have the right spring compressor to get in there because it's a really tight space. What I had to do is take the caliper off. As you can see, had to take the upper control rod or whatever they call it and the control arm. And then I was just barely able to get in there with a pry bar and just kind of wiggle that thing out. And it was a bear. So the other side might go a little better. I did end up breaking the, oh, that's for the headlights. That's what that is. But I have another one on the parts car, so I'll swap that real quick. Anyways, we got the new spring set up here. So I have it adjusted to what the other one was because the fronts, when they took them out, they were still adjusted correctly. So these guys, and I saw pictures of the car at its ride height and it actually looked pretty good. So I'm gonna leave it to whatever adjustment that is. And then the other one that was in the car that I got back, I just mirrored it to the new one that I bought. And then there's a new spring. So we're gonna throw all that in there and just see how she looks at that height. And if it needs adjustment, I will do it. But hoping it just looks good how it is. So catch up with you when I get everything done. All right, today I guess I'm on Struggle Street. So this side is all put back together. And then I came over to the other side because I thought, you know what, I've already figured this out. This should go a lot smoother. It really didn't. I don't know if all of these worn out bushings and knuckles and stuff are just the bane of my existence, but nothing but issues trying to get everything apart, loosened or tightened or any aspect. It was just difficult. But anyways, so I got the new spring in, so we're gonna put everything back together. We'll start working on the fronts, which, you know, cross your fingers that goes smoother. But for the most part, this is good to go. So let's move on to the next step. All right, and here we are, front side passenger done. All installed. It's at 0. I didn't even realize that it didn't look like it had actually been aligned. Whatever. I need to get the car aligned anyways. So that one's basically done. Got to put the caliper back on. This side, have not done yet. There she is, waiting in the wings. But now that I know what to do, it should go a little bit faster. So let's see if I can get this done before midnight tonight. Awesome. All right, here we are. Made it before midnight. Didn't get a lot of stuff done. Only got the suspension done. But I'm okay with that for today. Maybe tomorrow we'll knock out some of the easier stuff. This definitely took me more time than I really figured it would. Having done a few lowering jobs before, this one was a little bit challenging for a few reasons, but overall, we got her done. So we'll show you in the daytime what it looks like. We'll go back to the photo spot, but right now, that fitment looks pretty darn good. So there she is. We'll catch back with you tomorrow. All right. All right, here we are. It's a totally different day. Took the car out, drove it. It's a little high in the front. The back is fine, especially if I put stuff in it. But I do want the front a little bit lower. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drop these down a smidge. And this is in anticipation of going and getting an alignment. I was gonna have one done the day after, and then I looked at the car and I said, it needs to be lowered a bit more. So we're gonna take care of that, do the other things we had to do, and see if we can get some stuff accomplished today. Well, I was lucky enough, my wife has a little steamer that she let me use. So we're taking the back tint off because it's bubbling and purple and terrible to see out of at night. So let's hope that this all comes off in one nice big sheet. All right, well, it's going okay, but as you can see, all of the sticky is still on the window, so that's gonna suck to remove. But for the most part, we got some pretty big chunks out. It's these little dots around the outside that really can be a pain, but I'm trying to just heat the crap out of it and then pull, and that seems to be working. So let's see if we can get it all off another sheet. All right, I guess luck was with me. I got that one off in one sheet, so now we just have a back window with a lot of sticky on it. This stuff is like real sticky and gross. So we'll see what we use to get that off. All right, so a few things I've tried. I have tried Goof Off, seemed to work okay. It kind of took the stickiness off, but didn't remove the actual sticky. I tried a razor blade. That definitely works. However, I'm not gonna use a razor blade on the entire back window. That'll be a last ditch effort if I can't get anything else to work. Anyways, I tried WD-40, that doesn't work. Tried Windex, that doesn't work. Internet says use vinegar. So what I'm doing now is it says to soak a vinegar paper towel, leave it on there for 15 minutes, and then start rubbing it and see if it'll come off. So fingers crossed that I didn't screw myself putting other stuff on first. I only tried small spots except for the Goo Gone. I figured if I put the Goo Gone on there, it'll take a little while, but it would work. And while it is taking the stickiness off, it is not removing the actual layers. So we'll see what happens here. All right, my nose is burning. Let's see if this works. So we got about, I don't know, about that much vinegar on the back window. And we're gonna let it sit for 10, 15 minutes and just start rubbing on this thing and hope that it starts removing some sticky. But I'm cautiously optimistic. So let's fast forward a few minutes here. Okay, it's sometime later. Let's call it 20 or 30 minutes. So we did the vinegar thing. I took a little corner of it and I pulled it back and I tried to just kind of rub this, sticky stuff. And it was an absolute fail. So what we did was we used Old Reliable here, brake cleaner, and it worked perfectly. It was basically just wipe and it's gone. And I don't know if that's because we loosened it up with the vinegar and the Goo Gone and WD-40 and the heat. Who knows, but it came right off. I was a little worried about the defrost lines coming off, but they seem to be working out just fine. I've been working on cleaning all of this stuff. So this is all super duper neglected, or it was. And as you can see down in there, there's a lot of junk on both sides. So I'm gonna try and get that a little bit better. But essentially what's broken are these back tail lights and my license lights and the backup lights. So which is strange because that light works. Which means to me that one of these brackets here is hiding some broken wires. So I took everything apart. Real issue on these cars is this plastic back here. I guess nobody remakes them. They do. I found an STL file for a 3D printer where you can get these clips. I guess they're like $25 a piece or something like that from BMW. But I had to take all that off to even get to the underside so that I can even see the wiring. I don't think it's this wiring here, though. Well, that would be for the defrost, which works. I know that works. So that wiring's probably in good shape. I don't know if this third light works. I'll have to check that, actually. You have to take these covers off here. I would love to replace the shocks too, but I don't have them because this thing does not stay up. But anyways, take them off on both sides and just kind of take a peek at the wiring. I am positive it's broken because that's typically what happens with these. But I was just kind of scrubbing with a toothbrush into all these little crevices. The little rubber piece back there broke. Looks like it's probably normal because it's rubber and this car is 25 years old, more or less. So a little bit of cleanup and then we'll see if we can figure out why the brake lights aren't working. They have things progressed here. Okay, so we found that some of the wires, flashy lights back, that some of the wires in here are broken, right? So there's a ground there that you can see that's not connected to anything. There's a couple other ones in there. I can see that blue one there, as a matter of fact, showing some wire. So to get all of this out, you have to pull the plastics, which of course a lot of the clips broke. Okay. And then you have to disassemble the entire back of your hatch and then disconnect a bunch of things. And then I had to take the speaker out because all the wiring goes up in there. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull it all down through here so that I can solder as much as possible with some new wire and cross my fingers that it lasts another 20 years. But that was quite the ordeal. I was real nervous taking the speaker grill out because apparently they break. I did not break a single thing on this. I probably will when I put it back in because that's how that goes. But pulled it out nice and gentle. Did not snapper. Headliner looks okay too, which is sweet. Yeah, so let's just get this pulled and fixed and back in there. Okay, and just a quick update. So I did find 4 wires that needed to be fixed. There they are. So this one I'm probably gonna leave at length. Didn't seem to be much wrong with it. It was just split. But these were pretty bad. So I cut a bunch of length off. I have some really nice wire that I bought for my 3D printer repair that I'm actually gonna use for these. They're a little bit bigger in gauge, the wire that I have, but that's gonna be fine. And then the part that actually is in the hinge portion will be this nice flexible silicone expensive wire. So we will see how that goes. Just a bunch of holding yourself up with your stomach muscles and soldering, and then heat shrink. It's unfortunate sometimes when you're not paying attention and you lay your heat gun on your air hose and it punctures a hole in it. That's very unfortunate. Anyways, what I was going to show you is that the wiring is done. Just going to tape it up, put everything back in there. Obviously, like I said, the wire is a little bit bigger than the originals, but it is nice and flexible, so I'm not so worried about it breaking. Right, here we are, so end of the night. Got all the plastics put up underneath there. I didn't show you because who cares about that, but I do because it's one of those maintenance items that you don't want to get a bunch of dirt and crap in there. I got the tint off. We got the back window working. One negative that you can't see is when I taped everything up, it kind of made the bundle bigger, so this spot's a little larger. Plus all the plastics are broken because old, but it does close. Everything does work. Tail lights work now, which is great. Yeah, there we are. So I got a few things to fix, but as of right now, it at least opens and closes and does all the things it's supposed to do. So the car is a little bit lower, so that's good. I'm gonna drive it for a little bit, make sure this is where I like it, and then we'll get in alignment. Hey Logan, yeah. What you doing?
Jacking it.
You want to try that again? You want to try that again? Okay, stop. That's high enough. Okay. What are we doing to the car?
Changing the oil.
And?
Taking off the oil cap.
Changing a engine mount.
Yeah.
Right now we're just getting it up in the air. So let's follow along with some progress. Here we go. The great bath will cleanse you. Your oil baptism is coming. You got this. Make sure that pan's a little bit forward. You're gonna be wearing it. So what that's gonna do is it's gonna flick it right down into the oil. You got a rag, don't worry about it. We can get you another glove. Just don't get it on your arm. Love it.
It's really nice to have that cardboard on now.
Yeah, it is nice to have the cardboard. And as soon as you've done this for 20 years, you're gonna earn yourself that cardboard, buddy.
Not even 20. So how is it fair?
That's gonna come out real soon. Don't drop it in the oil.
What?
The plug. Don't drop the plug.
Oh God!
After it's unscrewed.
I have to worry about not dropping the plug in the oil.
I said that. Yeah.
I said it's. I thought you meant that was like a.
Do you think there's electricity coming out of there, or what? You got a glove on, man. What the hell do you need?
Well, guess what? My hand's bent, so it's gonna go naturally onto my arm, and I don't want oil on my arm.
I completely understand that. What do you need?
Give me the cardboard. And that hurts a lot.
Take the oil plug out, please.
Give me the cardboard, please.
There you go. That's how you do it right there. And then as it comes out, just pull. And then it'll come out and not drop. You're doing it. That's all you can do, man. Just keep doing it.
Oh, it's already coming out.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Which means you need to hurry. Hurry or we're going to lose the shot. Pull. Keep it over there. Keep it over the drain. Ooh. There you go.
Where do I put it? Where do I put it?
You put it right in this rag that you normally have at hands. reach, and then you just wait for that to be finished. Look at you, you did so good. How do you feel?
My neck hurts.
Well, that's okay. It'll get stronger.
Yeah, I thought he would have given me the cardboard though.
That's what you get for thinking. Cardboard's real comfy. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
What you looking for?
Cardboard.
There ain't no cardboard in here like this, brother. And here we are working on the engine mount. Yes? One bolt left. It's a tight one. So this mount on Mini Coopers goes bad pretty frequently. I tried fixing it before by drilling a hole and squirting in the window weld. It did not work. It never had a chance to dry, so I just bought a new one. So we're just going to get the old one out, throw the new one in. Should get rid of a few rattles, because this thing certainly had some engine rattles. Pretty sure they're all coming from that. This is supposed to have a gap in between. Clearly it does not. So once somebody gets that bolt off... Did you get it?
I would be up in the air if I got it.
That's a good point. All right, we'll get back with you. All right, we did not film any of the ending to this story, but here's Logan to take it away. Oh, that's right, he didn't show up. He didn't want to go for a test drive. Okay, fine, I'll do it myself. Anyways, the car is a lot quieter. It used to have kind of a bang when you would go over little, bumps and dips and stuff. I'm guessing that was the engine kind of bottoming out, as it were. So we're all good there. I need to just do a light acceleration and see if it still vibrates, but if that fixed that problem, there is nothing else wrong with this car. So unless that didn't fix it, that's the end of this little journey here, and we'll move on to something else. Well, good morning. We are on location at the spot I spent New Year's at. So family and I drove last night to New Year's party, and car decided that it wanted to eat a belt. So down in there, we have what's left of the belt. Unfortunately, that's going to be a bit of wrangling to get all that crap off, but we got a new belt. We'll throw it on. Hopefully we'll get her back on the road. Did definitely overheat a little bit. We are completely empty, at least in the overflow tank. Little popper's not even popping. So yeah, we'll see what shakes out, but we'll get the belt on first. All right, here we are on the side of the road. We got all the belts and stuff on, filled it back up with coolant. Come to find out, the upper, or the expansion tank has a crack in it. So I think it'll get us home, but probably shouldn't wait too long. Off we go. All right, here we are back at home. So I went ahead and replaced the expansion tank. Thankfully, we had a parts vehicle, so we got it swapped out. And then I had a cap on from the old tank, this guy here, which never leaked before, but seems to be leaking now. So that goes in the trash. So the new tank with the new cap seems to be working good. So we've had the car fired up for probably 5 or 7 minutes now. I do have this weird issue that I'll show you in a second with the front fan. So there is a bit of play in it, and then when you turn it on, it whips and then hits this front cover. So let me turn it on, I'll show you. And here we are. So when you're going through the drive-thru with the AC on, it's a little annoying. Of course, it just shut off. But I tried cutting this bottom part out because I thought that's what was rubbing. Come to find out, it's the entire plastic. So clearly, the fan needs to be replaced since there's so much play in it. I have another fan in the parts car, but I'm not taking the whole bumper off right now, so we're just going to deal with that. All right, here we are in a familiar place, the junkyard. But it's an 04 Buick Rainier. Most people don't know these have aluminum 5.3s in them. And this thing is crispy fresh. I mean, it looks like it was barely driven. I came here to just get a cylinder head to match the one that was cracked, but may have to come back and get the whole thing. Come to find out, this is an aluminum 5.3, but it has 862 heads on it, which I didn't even realize they put on these damn things. I need a 799, so we're gonna leave it. All right, and while we're getting stuff knocked out, we gotta do a little maintenance on the truck. We use this thing almost every day, absolute workhorse. Runs okay. It's certainly got some timing chain sounds as it's gotten older. It's at 200 and I think it's like 240,000 miles in this thing now. I checked the timing chain last time I did the water pump, which was at like 180,000 miles, and the timing chain looked fine, but when I start in the morning, it certainly got a clack to it. Anyways, one of the things about these EcoBoosts is they got to have a catch can, a separator. This one works really well, made by RX. I don't know who that is, but I found it on eBay for cheap. They're ridiculously priced. I think they're like $600 new, probably more now. Anyways, this is, well, today when I'm doing the oil change, I'm a little over 5,000 miles. This thing's full. So I drained it, good to go there. But I have an absolutely crazy oil leak on this side of the engine that I've been trying to get some time to diagnose. Well, just so happened I poked around, and this is a separator, and it all feeds out of that little tiny hole right there. But anyways, you screw this into your valve cover, and it's supposed to make a seal. All the crankcase pressure is supposed to go through this. So this was absolutely filthy, and come to find out, as you can see, O-ring no good. So we're gonna throw that on there. We'll drive it for a while, see if the oil leak is fixed, and then go from there. But I'm guessing that's probably it. So, always nice to find the culprit. All right, we've got some freshies on there, lubed them up, some WD-40. I sprayed this thing out with brake cleaner. It did not like it paint-wise, but I don't really care. No one ever sees it. So we're gonna slap this back together, do an oil change, and we're gonna drive it for a while and see if it goes. Well, it's gonna go, just see if it leaks. Sorry for a crappy video, but it looks like my AC clutch is what's not working on my AC. That's pretty bad, and as you can see on the hose there, all the internal electrical stuff flew out after it overheated. So maybe if I just replace the clutch, we're good to go there. Let's see about that. All right, so today I was gonna fix the Nova, but I got a box. So we're gonna do the box thing today. It's gonna be going around this area. But I wanted to show you what the current state of the car was. So ever since the belt came off, the car just kind of hasn't run very good. I did see the temperature climb for a bit, but I didn't think it was hot enough that it would really be a problem, at least mechanically. So I have had a check engine light for the intake cam sensor. So what I've done is I ordered the cam and the exhaust sensor. The exhaust one showed up first. It actually seems to have resolved the intake side because it doesn't throw that code anymore, but I also haven't driven it very far. But the other thing that it's done is it's thrown a code for cylinder number 3 as a misfire, which is weird. However, at idle, this thing runs just fine, and you can rev it up and it runs no problem. So I'm not really sure like what's going on. Just kind of seems like it's all over the place. It's still trying to figure stuff out, I think. So when the intake cam gets here, I will throw that in as well, but the exhaust one was original. So, I mean, I'm guessing that it was probably having some issues as well, but I'm not sure why changing the exhaust sensor would then give me a cylinder misfire number 3. Doesn't totally make sense. But anyways, let's move this thing in the shop. Right after a night of installing the radio in the BMW, I have decided tomorrow we will be fixing the Nova finally. So this thing just needs a slave cylinder. I need to nut and bolt check everything in the car. I'm almost convinced that the rear end is loose, the upper or the lower bar. I'm not really sure which one, but it certainly seems like on the last launch during Redwood Rally, which is about the last time I cared how this thing drove, it was pointing towards right when I would take off. So that indicates to me that there's something loose because it never did that before. So we're already starting the fluid drain tonight. Tomorrow morning I'm gonna hit it, get the trans out, take a look at the clutch, see how everything is. And then we'll just throw another slave in there and give it a nut and bolt check. All right, so as you saw, we got the transmission out. I wanted to note a few things that are interesting. So when I got to the bottom of the transmission mount, I noticed that the washers were a little bit loose on the transmission mount that I made over there. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. But anyways, I got to the point where I actually took the transmission mount out and found that the bolts that hold the actual mount to the transmission right there were gone, completely gone. Not just, you know, hidden somewhere, fell off. No, they were gone. So there's nothing holding the transmission to the mount. It was just the motor mounts that were holding all the torque the entire time. What does that mean? I don't know. I guess I'm glad that the ears on the engine didn't break off, or, you know, it didn't twist too violently. I don't know. That's a new one for me. I've never seen that before. So I'm going to find some new bolts. I'm going to red Loctite those things in. And then the other thing that we did, obviously, was change out the slave. So I'm not exactly sure where it was leaking. I know that this top fitting was loose. So this top one's the bleeder. And basically what I do is I take it and I put it into the reservoir that's up on the firewall. And when you bleed it, it just creates a loop, right? This is just screwed in there. This one's actually staked in, right? So it's got a little roll pin that goes in there so it can't come out, but it can turn freely. I didn't see either one of these looking like they actively were leaking, but something in here was leaking. Either way, we got a new one in there. And if we find that the issue is somewhere else, then I can use that on the BMW transmission. Don't mind this, it's going away as spare parts. So I was super surprised to see these bolts just fell right out. I mean, it doesn't even look like they were in there because it's got a little crevice, right? They could just fall out and go straight back in there and just chill for a while, but that one was pretty wild. So we're gonna bread Loctite those for sure. But anyways, let's put the transmission back in. All right, so we got the transmission back in. We got everything swapped the way it's supposed to be. I haven't put the shifter back on. That's about the only thing. And I think the clutch needs bled again. It at least has some movement to it. I can feel some resistance, but it's certainly not where it should be. But let's go ahead and let's fire this thing up. Been a long time. Where's my gas? There it is. Let's do that again. I haven't fired this thing up in 2 months. Bleeding the clutch for the third time, but I have figured out a little trick because normally I just kind of have to sit or stand on the sill, push the clutch, and then look over. But I installed a mirror so that I can do it from here. Still getting a little bit of bubbles, gonna keep hitting it. But basically you just take your bleeder line, shove it into the reservoir, make sure the reservoir topped off, and then just slowly pump it. What I've found to work the best is kind of push it in all the way, let it sit for a sec, and then let it out quick. And what that does is it sucks the fluid through and kind of pushes it out towards the bleeder. But anyway, just more of this. All right, so in an effort to close out this video, I really would like to get this car drivable. At this point, it starts and it runs really well, and then it goes into closed loop and it runs like garbage. So the check engine light that I had indicated that one of the intake sensors was bad. Sorry, one of the cam sensors was bad. I ordered the exhaust and the intake at the same time just in case it was one or the other. The exhaust showed up first, so I put that one in. That's this guy down here. And it made no difference. As a matter of fact, while it did run better for a split second, it ended up throwing a check engine light for cylinder number 3 having a misfire, so that's definitely not a good call. So that will be coming out, put the stock one back in. But this guy right here, it's actually behind this tube looking thing. That one is the intake side, and I do have a new one of those, which is a little better brand. Hella, they make good headlights. Why don't they make good sensors? Let's see. We're going to take all this stuff off, and we're going to take probably just this guy off. If I can't get just this off, I'll take the filter housing and the tube as well, or the feeder line for Vanos, and then we'll throw it in there and see what we can do. So let's just get that done real quick. All right, so we went ahead and replaced that one, the intake side. I put the exhaust one back in since it was giving me a weird issue. So I'm gonna open the door, gonna back this thing out. We're gonna let it fire up for a while and get warm, and then we'll see how the idle is. So I'll catch back with you once it's warm. All right, well, we are up to temperature and the car seems to be running okay. The idle is fluctuating a little bit. I think this cooling fan is kind of throwing things off. I don't know, when I had the AC on, it still makes that noise, and I can hear right around the time the engine dips, this fan wants to kick on. So I turn the AC off, it seems to idle a little bit better. That's certainly something I need to change, but taking off the whole front end is just really not something I'm interested in it right now. It's winter time. I won't be really using the AC unless I'm on the freeway keeping the windows defrosted, so that's fine. At this point, I'm going to take it out and drive it, and assuming everything's good, we'll catch back with you and we'll close this out. All right, well, unfortunately, the test drive did not work out. So this thing, and we have air conditioning off, we have all the things off that might be affecting the idle, and it's just like, it runs fine when it runs fine, but like just sitting here at idle, or if I drive and I try to give it any kind of gas, it just stumbles and just runs like garbage. There's a pending check engine light for the same code it had before, which is the intake sensor. But I mean, having just changed it, put a brand new one in there, I would be very surprised if this was still the issue. I'm thinking that maybe a better option here would be to just LS swap this thing. I have most of the parts. I only need a few other things. Granted, it would be a ton of work, but at this point, I feel like I'm just chasing my tail for something that I don't even really want. Like, I want the car, I don't want this engine. I would love to just fart around in it for a while and just kind of like, you know, feel this whole thing out and just make the car what it should be and then put an engine in it. But it's kind of forcing my hand. I don't want to keep troubleshooting a problem that, you know, is seemingly difficult to repair. I mean, I'm putting in sensors that, granted, aren't BMW sensors, but the Hella one should be just fine. The other one I put back to the BMW sensor. It never threw a check engine light for that sensor before, so it should be fine. And at this point, it's just pending the intake cam sensor. So I don't know, maybe it just needs driven more, because the light hasn't come on, but the pending code is still in my scanner. So I don't know. I think at this point, it's probably best we just start planning for the swap and we just park this thing. I have enough cars. I don't really need to drive this every day. Well, you can kind of see it down in there. The catalytic converter is just glowing orange, which means this thing's running super lean. Basically, it's in limp mode. So whatever. At this point, I'm going to do a price list. I'm just going to see what it's going to cost to do an LS swap. It's always, you know, more money than you think. But I do have the computer, I have the transmission, I have the engine, which needs a little bit of work, but not a lot of work. I would guess the whole thing could be done for less than $2,000 for sure, since I have most of the big items. It's just the small items that you never think about. So I think I'll just park this thing. Maybe one day when it's nice out, which will probably be a while since it's winter, I will take it out and just see if it drives okay. I honestly don't know what it needs. I should probably plug the input in. My laptop died, so I can't do that. But at this point, it's not worth driving, you know, just for a maybe I'll break down somewhere, or maybe it'll run right. It probably won't at this point. Yeah, so we're gonna close it out there. Thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I hope to bring you an LS swap in the future. It's definitely going to happen. It just seems like maybe it'll happen a little bit sooner than later. So there we are, another LS swap family member.